Good afternoon, students. It's a pleasure to meet you. First of all, thank you for being here to listen to me. What I'm going to share with you today is kind of nagging lecture about the importance of reading books, literacy in the age of AI. Some of you may be interested in this area and some of you may not, but I can assure you that at the end of the lecture, it will be very helpful for your career if you pay attention to this lecture, okay? Why reading books matters again in the age of AI. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Seho Park, 32 years old. I do research, write books, and run a business about literacy improvement solution. So, what I do is to help students to read a book effectively and efficiently. I know that some of you might think that, wait a minute, who are you? I don't even know who you are, and I can't even Google him. Well, I agree with that thinking. So I'm also still wondering why the Chadwick School invited me as a guest speaker of First Chadwick International School. So let's find out. I studied neuroscience as a major and computer science as a minor at Georgia Tech, Atlanta, Georgia. I chose this major because I was interested in human cognition development, and I wanted to run a business, what I'm interested in and what I'm good at. At that moment, my father called me to come back to Korea, and we got to write a book about the literacy, which title is The Era of Reading Deficit. It is the book about the literacy and the literacy solution. And after we wrote the book, then we released the mobile application version of Literacy Improvement Teachware in Android. What we did so far is that we taught over 200 students around Korea, like Seoul, Gyeonggi, Daegu, Busan, Chungnam, Jeonbuk, even Jeju Island. And their literacy skills like vocabulary, reading fluency have improved within 20 hours using Superbook training. And the students, their vocabulary has improved over 137%, and their reading fluency has improved over 546%. And they read the book over 7.5 times on average. And we reported this data to the Department of Education. And I'm going to show you some interesting images of their literacy improvement. This is the changes of eye tracking results within 20 hours of Superbook training about accuracy and fluency. As you can see, before training, it looks like quite messy, right? And these students' eye tracking results turns out to be fluent and settled after 20 hours of training like this. From now on, I'm gonna have to tell you what is going on in Korea and America. These 4 job categories of each entry-level job market have been decreased since the AI is used in each industry, like developers, lawyers, accountants, and designers. Especially the designer group contains web designer, art designer, video editor, and even document designer. For example, according to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the junior developer job market has been decreased over 25% compared to the last year, 2025. And of course, this phenomena has happened in Korea, needless to say. On the other hand, the company or corporation these days prefer seniors with proper AI using skills rather than hiring and training the juniors because it is more cost efficient. Then we have to throw some important questions to ourselves about AI. Like, why do I use an AI? And what can I achieve through an AI? because the domain for the juniors has been now alternating to the AI. So we need to be a director of an AI, not operator of AI. Then who is the director of exactly? Director is the person who can point the object, make the decision about that, and take the responsibility for that, and take the all fruits for that. And the components that human director needs to get three things. First one is a knowledge, and second one is efficiency and the searching ability. And this slide would be one of the most important theme of today's lecture. I would strongly say literacy is the key for proficient use of AI. According to Ethan Mollick, who is the associate professor of Wharton School, do you know what is the Wharton School is? It is the most famous business school in America, University of Pennsylvania Business School. Ethan Mollick, he wrote about the book about the AI, which title is Dual Brain, that he strongly claimed in his book that we need to use an AI as we use our brain. And truly harness AI, we must cultivate both broad general knowledge and the deep expertise. And where does these guys come from? Broad general knowledge and deep expertise. I already gave you the hint, which is reading a book. And reading a book is directly related to the literacy. Then, why the literacy is the key for an AI? Because the AI is known as LLM, which stands for Large Language Model, is the text-based chatting program. It means we communicate with AI through text, right? Like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, or Manus. Whatever the popular AI tools are text-based. And there are 4 reasons why the literacy is the key for an AI. First, it is the efficiency. Since we got limited time to process our projects, homeworks, or whatever the important text we have to do, then we need to be more faster, more accurate, and getting more knowledge and better comprehension skills. Second is a clear order. The more detailed instruction we give, the more clear contents we get. And the third one is hallucination. The AI is born to be lying. So we have to distinguish what is true and a false. And the last reason is implementation. The outputs that AI generated is not only a single brick. I mean, we use the AI for a specific purpose, right? The outputs that AI generated must be applied to another area or next scripts. So the outputs must be applicable and expendable. And I'm gonna have to tell you the fact about literacy in Korea and America. According to the PISA test, which stands for Program for International Student Assessment to middle schoolers in OECD nations, that Korean students' literacy have been decreasing since they recorded highest levels in literacy in 2006, especially since 2012, our literacy level has dropped from 556 to 515, which is about 10% decreased. And low achievement students have been increased from 5% to 15%. And also, according to CSAT data, as known as the Suneung in Korea, the exam difficulty had been increased. But, however, the top performance students have been decreased within 10 years. So this data tells us that steady decline in student literacy skills, regardless of exam difficulty. What about the American students' literacy? I would say US students' literacy is worse or collapsing right now. According to the NAEP's data, which stands for National Assessment of Educational Progress, the rate of below students was just at 20% in 1992 of 12th grade students in literacy skills, but after 32 years later, it reached to 32% in 2024. However, the proficient students have been decreasing, and this phenomena is also happening in all grades in America, including 4th grade and 8th grade. This trend would tell us that the rate of proficient student literacy level would be soon reversed by the rate of below literacy level. What about Chadwick? Some of you born in Korea and some of you are international. To be honest, this is not the first time for me to visit to Chadwick International School. The first time I visited was a living library day that was invited me as a guest speaker, and I asked some simple literacy surveys to 20 students, and their reply was quite surprising. Like, they tend to focus more on YouTube or short-form videos than on reading. The 17 students out of 20 replied this entry as yes. And they got also 2 or more books that they started but didn't finish. This question, the 85% of students replied as yes. So this questionnaire data tells us that you guys don't read the book. From now on, I'm going to suggest a solution, of course. But before we go further, we have to define what the literacy is. We summarize the notable neuroscientist research about literacy, like Reading in the Brain and How We Learn by Dr. Stanislas Dehaene from Collège de France, and Language at the Speed of Sight by Dr. Mark Seidenberg from University of Wisconsin-Madison, and Reader, Come Home by Dr. Marian Wolf. And finally, we summarize the scientific term of literacy. So, literacy can be defined as the ability of human brain to process textual data with accuracy and speed. Then, how the literacy can be developed? According to the NRC, which stands for National Research Council, it is kind of an institute of headquarters of U.S. medicine, engineering, and science. They released the Literacy Improvement Instruction Guide in 2012, and they suggest literacy development as 4 stages. First one is a decoding. Decoding means knowing the correspondence between letters and phonemes, or text sounds. Second step is a vocabulary. A vocabulary means not only knowing the definition of a word, but also knowing the proper usage in the context. And the third one is a fluency. Fluency contains 2 components, accuracy and speed. Accurate reading means that you have to read word for word while you are reading, not missing even a word in a context. And as you all know, proper reading speed is a must in good literacy skills. Last one is a comprehension. When you say you understood some text what you have read, then you should summarize the text, and then you should also explain to others and make them understood what you have read it. And you can also refer some important information from the text. That's the comprehension. Then some of you may think that, I see what you're saying, but what are we going to do for literacy improvement? Then I would answer the question like we can use our dopamine system in learning. Have you ever heard of dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter related to pleasure. It also acts like hormones that related to muscle movements, but let's talk about the neurotransmitter's role. So when we feel pleasure, then the dopamine will be released. Then when it's the time we feel pleasure, that dopamine will be released. First, when we expect good results or better results from now, then the dopamine will be released. Second, when we realize that some informations we don't know or we cannot understand, it turns out to be the knowledge we know or we can understand. This is called aha moment. Then the dopamine will be released. And the third one is an accomplishment. When we finished some hard works or important tests, then we feel accomplishment. And then the dopamine will be released. And then what? When do we see the dopamine release? The answer is when we concentrate something, then the dopamine is being released. Then how do we use our dopamine system in learning? We can use dopamine accomplishment circuit. First step is curiosity. Just research and grab a text what you need. This is the very beginning point in learning. The second step is attention. So expect the outcome from the book or text you choose. It means you can feel expectation, then the dopamine will be released. And third step, accurate reading. Try to read the text word for word. And fourth step, try to memorize some keywords in the paragraph. These stages would be the first step for the aha moment. And then boost you up your reading speed. Then you can feel accomplishment. Then the dopamine will be released. You can also feel accomplishment when you finish to read a book you choose. Then the dopamine will be released. This is not over yet. Read the book again and start the repetition of reading, because the true aha moment and accomplishment will be happened from this step. When you read the book again, then the metacognition happens, which means that you can find the blind spot of knowledge from the book that you don't understand. Then the aha moment happens. It means that dopamine will be released. Then the number of blind spots will be decreased while repetition of reading books. Then the aha moment happens again and again. Then the dopamine will be released. And this is as known as the procedure of comprehension. And next, boost you up your literacy skills like vocabulary, accuracy, and comprehension. Then you can feel accomplishment. Then the dopamine will be released. And the last step of this dopamine accomplishment circuit is the long-term memory reinforcement. As I mentioned in first circuit, you guys already trained working memory at first step. Then when you repeat this training, you don't have to put hard effort to memorizing some important information from the text. Then you can feel accomplishment. Then the dopamine will be released. finally, this circuit will be the driving force to read other texts and understand them efficiently. And the very last comment I want to deliver to you today is that reading maketh a full man. Have you ever watched Kingsman? One of the most popular lines in the movie is "Manners maketh man." I assume that this phrase would probably come from this phrase: reading maketh a full man, from Francis Bacon, one of the great author and politician, philosopher in England. Thank you for listening so far, and I hope this lecture will be helpful for your career. Thank you.